The 2017 NFL draft class is widely regarded as one of the best for running backs in recent history. Several of the players selected in this draft have gone on to have record-breaking careers. So today, we're going to break down what happened to each of them, starting with number 5. At this spot would be Joe Mixon, and he was drafted 48th overall in the second round. Joe Mixon had a rare combination of size and speed. He was 6'1", 226 pounds, but could run a 40-yard dash in 4.48 seconds. While he played at Oklahoma, he had no trouble proving that he could be a complete back in the NFL. But on draft day, Mixon was viewed as a high-risk, high-reward prospect. His talent suggested that he could be a first-round pick, but he had off-the-field concerns that left many teams wondering if it would be worth the risk. But Mixon quickly showed why he was one of the best running backs in that draft class, becoming the Bengals' lead back and eventually one of the key players on their offense. Joe Mixon would go on to have his best season in 2021, rushing for 1,205 yards and 13 touchdowns. He was selected to his first Pro Bowl and played a key role in the Bengals' run to the Super Bowl. He's overall been a consistent back with solid receiving and rushing numbers. His career stats through 2023 would total with over 5,300 rushing yards, over 1,700 receiving yards, and 48 total touchdowns. Despite all this success, there was definitely some low points in his career. He's had his handful of off-the-field issues, including a 2014 incident that actually caused him to drop in the draft. Like most running backs, Mixon has definitely dealt with injuries and inconsistency. Just recently, Mixon was traded to the Houston Texans on March 13th, 2024 in exchange for a 2024 7th-round selection previously obtained from the Arizona Cardinals. The next day, he signed a 3-year, $27 million contract extension through the 2026 season, so Mixon has been a solid contributor for the Bengals, but with a combination of off-the-field issues and injury history, this ranks him at number 5 on this list. The number 4 spot would go to Dalvin Cook, who was drafted 41st overall in the second round. Despite his concerns about his durability, Cook handled a heavy workload at Florida State and proved that he could carry the ball frequently without losing effectiveness. He had back-to-back seasons with over 1,600 rushing yards and 19 touchdowns. Since being drafted by the Vikings, he's had multiple Pro Bowl selections in 2019 to 2022. His best season would be in 2020, where he rushed for 1,557 yards and 16 touchdowns. He was a key part of the Minnesota Vikings offense and one of the top running backs in the league during that time. His career has slowed down due to injuries, including an ACL tear his rookie season. And of course, whenever you tear an ACL, you're pretty much guaranteed to miss the rest of the season. Recently, Cook's production dipped in 2023, leading to his release by the Vikings, but he later signed with the New York Jets. After signing the 1-year contract with the New York Jets, he appeared in 15 games and made 1 start for the Jets. But his playing time was severely hampered by the lead running back, Breece Hall. He had a total of 67 carries for 214 rushing yards, and after 17 weeks, Cook and the Jets mutually agreed to part ways earlier this year. After going unclaimed on waivers, Cook signed with the Baltimore Ravens practice squad on January 4th, 2024. He was signed to the active roster later that month, and he made his team debut in the Ravens divisional round with a 34-10 win over the Houston Texans. Sad to say that his career has had a slight decline over the years, but he has still put up impressive stats regarding some of the circumstances he went through. He's garnered over 6,000 rushing yards, over 1,700 receiving yards, with 55 total touchdowns. The number 3 running back on this list would be Leonard Fournette. He was probably the most anticipated player in this draft, getting picked 4th overall in the first round. The excitement around his potential and the buzz from analysts and commentators made him one of the most talked about players during the draft. I mean, Fournette was standing at 6'1", 240 pounds, and he could run a 4.5 in the 40-yard dash. Not to mention, everyone knew about his viral highlight reel. So with the combination of this size and strength, this left everyone excited to see how this skill set would translate over to the NFL. And in 2017, Fournette had an impressive rookie season, rushing for 1,040 yards and 9 touchdowns, helping the Jacksonville Jaguars reach the AFC Championship game. After getting traded to the Bucs, Fournette played a crucial role in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers Super Bowl run, earning the nickname Playoff Lenny. He rushed for 135 yards and a touchdown in the Super Bowl victory over the Kansas City Chiefs. The following season was solid for Fournette, with 812 rushing yards and 454 receiving yards and 10 total touchdowns. But after a strong rookie season, it seems like he struggled with injuries and off-the-field issues, which would ultimately lead him to getting released by the Jaguars in 2020. In the 22 season, Fournette had a down year with just 668 rushing yards and 3 touchdowns, and eventually lost his starting role to Rachaad White. But he was still able to put up solid numbers with 4,478 rushing yards, over 2,000 receiving yards, and 41 total touchdowns. So while Fournette's days of being a workhorse running back might appear to be over, Fournette has said that he's still far from done, because after 2 seasons with Tampa Bay, the Bucs waived Fournette in March of 2023, and as the 29-year-old remained unsigned, he ended up making it onto the Buffalo Bills practice squad. He was eventually elevated to the active roster and played just 2 games that season. He only tallied a total of 40 yards and 12 carries. Fournette's high points in his career were exceptional, including a Super Bowl win, but he has had inconsistency, which would place him in the middle of the pack for this list. Filling the number 2 spot would be Christian McCaffrey, drafted 8th overall in the first round. Another running back that went viral, not only for his speed and running ability, but for also being productive as a receiver and return specialist. McCaffrey was widely regarded as one of the most versatile players in this draft, and not to mention his father Ed McCaffrey, who was a successful wide receiver in the NFL and won 3 Super Bowls. With a father who's played multiple seasons in the NFL and a huge family of athletes, this made the McCaffrey name even more popular on draft night. After getting drafted by the Carolina Panthers, McCaffrey would have a historic season in 2019. He would become the 3rd player in the NFL to record 1,000 rushing yards and 1,000 receiving yards in a single season. And he finished that season with 1,387 rushing yards and 1,005 receiving yards and 19 total touchdowns. And he was also named first-team All-Pro and made the Pro Bowl. He has since done an exceptional job after getting traded to the 49ers and even dealing with injuries in the past. I mean, this guy's on the Madden 25 cover. Besides winning the Super Bowl, that's got to be like the number 1 thing on every NFL player's list. And I think the fact that he's been able to come back from injuries and still produce for the 49ers is one of the reasons he's at the top of this list. I mean, I remember when I tried fantasy football and people were telling me not to pick Christian McCaffrey as a running back because he was probably going to get injured. Well, it's safe to say he proved them wrong. He's had over 10,000 career yards, and get this, 71 total touchdowns. Some scouts question his ability to actually produce in the NFL. After all, he was on the smaller size, and he had an extremely heavy workload when he was playing for Stanford. But the Panthers were able to look past this, and they ended up drafting one of the best running backs in the league. On June 4th, 2024, McCaffrey signed a 2-year extension through the 2027 season with the 49ers. So McCaffrey now remains the highest paid running back and has reset the record with his new $38 million deal. McCaffrey's historic 2019 season and his versatility makes him one of the best, if not the best running back in the league currently. However, there is one player who might arguably beat him out in that race, and the number 1 spot would go to Alvin Kamara. He was the last running back drafted on this list, drafted 67th overall in the 3rd round. Despite not being a first-round pick, NFL scouts knew that he could be a player that could thrive if he just found the right system. For Kamara, he wasn't actually used a lot in college compared to some of these top running backs. He actually shared the field a lot with Jalen Hurd. So his limited production was also a turnoff to NFL scouts, but this also meant that he had less wear and tear than other running backs in the draft. His ability to line up as a receiver or catch passes out of the backfield made him a steal for many NFL teams. No team seemed to want him more than the New Orleans Saints. In 2017, Kamara burst onto the NFL scene, winning the NFL Offensive Rookie of the Year. He rushed for 728 rushing yards, but this is the best part. he had 826 receiving yards and 13 total touchdowns. What makes him such an exciting player and being ranked number 1 on this list is his ability to be both a pass and run threat. And as the years progress, this has proven to be more important in the NFL. Kamara was selected in the Pro Bowl in each of his first 5 seasons, and he was also named First Team All-Pro in 2017 and Second Team All-Pro in 2020. But it doesn't stop there. In 2020, Kamara tied an NFL record with 6 rushing touchdowns in a single game against the Minnesota Vikings. He finished the season with 932 rushing yards and 756 receiving yards, with a career high of 21 total touchdowns. He's had over 10,000 total career yards and 73 total touchdowns. There was a low point in his career where he was suspended for 3 games due to violating the league's personal conduct policy, but hopefully that doesn't hold him back anymore. After seeing the field briefly in the Saints preseason opener versus the Arizona Cardinals, he only carried the ball twice, for only 3 yards. Kamara has seen a lot of time on the sideline during the preseason, which has left fans wondering. But the New Orleans head coach, Dennis Allen, addressed the media and cleared the air on this one, letting everyone know that Kamara's absence is due to a familiar back issue, not anything related to the dissatisfaction with his current contract. Kamara's consistent production as both a runner and a receiver, along with his ability to find the end zone, makes him the best player on this list and the best running back in the 2017 NFL running back class. This class was stacked with running back talent, and some running backs have lived up to the hype, while some were a hidden gem.